So now everything's loose, and I've honked and pried on this thing, and it is not coming off. It appears to be stuck on the shaft. So you see I've got the slave cylinder on it. I'm going to try a little trick here to try to see if I can get it dislodged from the shaft. So the clutch plate is seized on the input shaft. I cannot get that thing off. I have everything free from it. I can even pull it back from the dowel pins and rotate it a little bit. But I don't have any recourse now but to remove the clutch while it's all still bolted together. I'm going to make a little tool here that allows me to get to the pressure plate bolts. And using a 12mm socket and old beat up 9/16 inch crappy wrench. And what I'm going to do is grind the chrome plating down off of both of these things, stick this thing around the other piece after cutting a groove out of it, and weld the things together so that I can have a tool that I can reach into the bell housing and rotate those clutch bolts with. So that's the mission. Hey, might not even need to weld that. Oh, what the heck. I wonder if that would hold. Doesn't look to me like it's going to let go. I might just try it like that. Alright, so I've got the weight of the engine and the transmission supported by jacks and jack stands. And right there, you'll see there's a little rubber boot that goes on the clutch fork. And what I've just done here by making this tool is enabled myself to be able to get in here and access clutch bolts. It is the moment of the truth. Do I have them all out? Yes, sir. I crushed a finger earlier, so I'm trying not to do that again. Flywheel looks alright. Alright, let's see what's going on with this. Yep, seized on the input shaft. So here we are staring inside the bell housing of an F5M33 Mitsubishi all-wheel drive second generation Eclipse transmission. And what we have left, which you've already seen me remove the pressure plate and I cut the clutch disc out of there. I'm very fortunate that this has stripped splines and that the input shaft's teeth are all intact. It's a lot of work to replace that, so I'm going to take a chance with it. I don't know what I'm going to do about this other disc. I don't know if ACT wants to know about it or not. But I've got another street disc in a box. I've got a disc in a box. I've got a disc in a box here. This doesn't hold as much torque, but from after shearing the teeth out of that last one, I'm willing to take another chance. And that's going to grip a little bit less, but I think a little bit of slippage is good if I'm not having problems like this. So what we have left in here is a throwout bearing, and they call this a Jesus clip because when you put this in on the part, when installing the throwout bearing, you put it in and you pray that it holds. This is the throwout bearing, which presses against the pressure plate fingers when you mash on this fork. So when you push this in, this bearing is pushed in against the spring fingers of the clutch, and when those get pushed in like a lever action, it releases this plate and pulls the plate back away from the flywheel. And so this clutch plate is sandwiched in between it. See, the spring surfaces go down inside the hole. They go down inside this hole here so that there's room for them to clear, and that you have a nice flat surface against the flywheel. So when you're putting your clutch disc on, make sure you get the thick side going in inside the clutch plate and the flat surface against the flywheel. So anywho, so here all we have left is the fork. It's just held in with a little spring clip. You can just tug on that and it pops out. And it's always a good idea when you're putting this thing back together, whenever you're in here servicing it, to put a dab of grease in there, something that's not going to wash away. But coat this with grease real good, or else you might develop squeaks or start to wear the ball down. And keeping that ball clean and free of dirt and nastiness is one thing you should do whenever you have this apart. Alright, we'll just keep this stuff set aside because I'm going to do some more cleaning while I'm in here. This thing's all full of metal shavings and everything else. But we're going to make a mess doing this, and I don't really care because that's what a workshop's for. Alright, there's no shaft play in that. Great. Well, the reason why I didn't use compressed air on this, the clutch discs often have asbestos. It's not really good to breathe that stuff, so you want to try to use a liquid solvent that'll keep the stuff from becoming airborne, and that's what's best for your lungs. So while it might be hazardous to breathe in the fumes from that stuff, it certainly beats asbestos or mesothelioma. Anyway, so let's look at all the clutch parts that I cut out of here. You can see the clutch plate here is not really even worn. It was just getting broke in. It's in really good shape. There's a couple damage spots on it from where I was prying against it, but you know, like right there, but you can kind of expect that when you saw what I was doing to it. But all we did basically was cut the rivets out, and the rivets hold it together in a three-part sandwich. You got an inner plate and an outer plate that contain the springs. This piece on the spline shaft kind of floats in the middle on this thing, and it's sprung, and then this piece is against that. Now, there are clutch plates that don't have these springs in them. A lot of people have problems with the springs failing and like firing out and bouncing around the transmission, tearing up their flywheel and destroying things. And there's been a rash of that in just about every brand of clutch. At some point, when you start making enough power, parts fail. So, you know, there's no real fail-safe clutch to buy, in my opinion. I think there are some that are better than others, but you know, you put them in our hands. Look at my hands, and look what I managed to do to it. But I'm going to try this street disc thing out, and in the next video I will cover the assembly process. And if you guys ever wind up getting your clutch disc stuck on the input shaft, at least now you can see how to get the thing off. Now, all I used was just a simple two-jaw gear puller thing. So you kind of have to do a little bit of cutting to do it this way, but you see I got this thing pulled off without really completely destroying the input shaft. I got lucky. Now, if the input shaft were severely mangled, which it might even be, they say sometimes after you spin a clutch disc it's bound to do it again, and I'll buy that. I mean, you know, some metal had to have been damaged here. But I'm going to take my chances with it because it's in pretty good shape. It doesn't seem to have anything that's catching on the clutch disc when I press it on and off. So if I have this on here and it slides in and out freely, I don't feel any notches or anything in it. So that's while I'm turning it, I think she's going to work. But anyway, if that doesn't wind up working out, I'll have to replace the entire input shaft, which involves removing, well, it's pretty much like doing a full rebuild. First and second gear are part of the shaft, and 3 and 4 are sandwiched between it, so it has to come apart in order to replace that. And, oh well, we'll see how she does.